It was the sound of coughing that woke Dave up that morning, deep, chest-wrenching, like a soul trying to escape through cracked ribs. He sat up in the darkness of the room, lit only by the orange flicker of a dying mosquito coil. On the mat beside him, his mother was curled up in fetal position, her frail back rising and falling in spasms. The old kerosene stove they'd been using to heat water had exploded 2 days ago, and there was no money for drugs, or even pap. Dave reached for a bucket, filled it with water, and knelt beside her. "Mama, drink small," he whispered. She tried, but the water trickled down the side of her mouth. Her body felt like paper, dry, trembling, half there. Outside, Ajegunle was already alive with chaos. Hawkers shouting, generators roaring, babies crying, preachers screaming into megaphones. But inside that tiny "Face Me I Face You" room, time had frozen. Dave looked at the calendar on the wall. August 17th. 3 years since he graduated top of his class. 3 years of rejections, of walking from mile 2 to CMS just to attend interviews that ended with, "We'll get back to you." They never did. That morning, he dressed quietly, sliding into the same white shirt he'd worn to over 20 interviews. He tiptoed past the neighbors' cooking stoves in the corridor and stepped out into the sun-scorched street, his CV folded neatly in a plastic file. At the bus stop, he met a familiar face, slim, dark-skinned, eyes sharp behind expensive shades. Tunji. Or Stunna, as he now called himself. He rolled down the window of a matte black Mercedes and grinned. "Dave Dre. My guy. Nah, you still day hustle like this?" Dave forced a smile. "Just one interview like that. They say they're looking for fresh graduates." Stunna laughed, rich and booming. He wore a gold chain so heavy it looked like it hurt his neck. "Omo, fresh graduates no day chop for this country again. You still day wait for miracle. Miracle no day Ajegunle. Blood day Ajegunle." That line hit Dave like cold water. He tried to brush it off, but something stuck. That night, he returned home to find Mama unconscious. Neighbors helped carry her to a chemist. The nurse said her sugar was low, and she needed to be taken to a real hospital. But the money wasn't there. Not even for transport. Dave sat on the corridor floor that night, hands in his head. Beside him, a child laughed at nothing. Far off, a generator sputtered and died. Then his phone vibrated. A message from Stunna: "If you're ready, I'll take you. No pressure. But some doors don't open twice." Dave stared at the screen, jaw tight. Then he stood. He had no money. No job. No options. But he had a mother who was dying. And a city that didn't care. He replied, "Where and when?" The shrine was quiet, too quiet, the kind of quiet that had weight to it. Dave stood barefoot on the cold earth floor, surrounded by masked men who said nothing, only hummed in strange, throaty tones. Candles flickered around a carved wooden bowl filled with black liquid. A single goat's skull sat atop a blood-stained stool in front of him. The air was thick with smoke, sweat, and something older, something wild. "Stripped to your waist," the tallest of them commanded. He obeyed. One of the men pulled out a razor and began to slice symbols into Dave's chest. Not deep, but sharp enough to sting. With each stroke, the humming grew louder, faster. Another man dipped a feather into the black liquid and painted over the wounds. It felt like fire. Dave clenched his jaw. He wanted to scream, but he wouldn't. He had no dignity left, but he still had silence. Then the lead priest, his face covered in a red cloth, stepped forward. He placed a cowrie into Dave's hand. "If you value your life, listen closely," he said, voice echoing like wine through a cave. "You will wake up tomorrow a king. But you must spend it all, 400 million naira, in 5 days. If you fail," he didn't finish the sentence. The humming stopped. All the candles went out at once. Darkness swallowed him whole. Dave gasped awake in his bed. It was morning. His shirt was back on. His chest was smooth, no scars, no blood. For a moment, he thought it was a dream. Then his phone pinged. Alert, 400 million Nigerian nairas credited to your account. He stared at the screen. Heart pounding. Hands trembling. It was real. Within hours, Ajegunle's narrow streets watched in awe as a black Range Rover with dark-tinted windows rolled out of the ghetto. Inside, Dave wore designer sunglasses and a wine-colored senator outfit he'd bought from a boutique in Lekki. His first stop was a luxury apartment in Banana Island, 6 months' rent, paid in advance. He didn't blink at the price. The next day, he hired 3 cooks, 2 cleaners, a private bouncer named Bullet, and a social media manager who would build his personal brand. His Instagram bio changed to, "From dust to dynasty moneybag fire #Dre the Don." Then came the parties. The music was loud. The drinks were imported. Girls he'd once begged for a smile now slid into his DMs with heart emojis. Influencers praised his mysterious rise. Journalists speculated about a tech breakthrough or secret inheritance. But in the middle of it all, the air shifted. One morning, his new Rolex stopped ticking. The chef boiled water that turned black. Bullet swore he saw someone standing at the gate at 3 a.m., whispering Dave's name. But the CCTV footage showed no one. Worse, when Dave tried to send 2 million Nigerian nairas to his old secondary school as donation, the transfer bounced. Invalid transaction, the app said. Twice. Then the money reappeared in his account, doubled. That night, he heard it again. A whisper. Just outside his bedroom window. Spend it for you, Dre. Not for them. He turned on all the lights. No one was there. But his phone lit up again, unprovoked. 400 million Nigerian nairas still intact. The medicine stayed untouched on the stool. Mama Dre was too weak to lift a spoon, too feverish to speak. Her eyes, once sharp and full of cautious wisdom, now fluttered open like they didn't recognize her own son. Dave sat beside her on the thin mattress in their Ajegunle room, holding her hand, the same hand that had shielded him from bullies, that had scraped together coins to buy his first school shoes. It was cold. Damp with sweat. He brought a private doctor from Ikoyi that morning. Paid her 500,000 Nigerian nairas in advance. The moment the woman entered the room, she began to choke violently, eyes bulging like she'd inhaled fire. She collapsed before she could even check a pulse. The neighbors said it was the kerosene smoke, but Dave knew better. That was the 3rd doctor in 2 days. He tried sending money to a private hospital in Surulere. The transfer failed 3 times. He called an ambulance, it never arrived. Finally, out of desperation, he carried Mama Dre himself into his Range Rover. But the car refused to start. Not the battery. Not the fuel. Just silence. Like the curse was watching. Mama Dre groaned in her sleep. Dave brushed her forehead gently. I get money now, Mama, he whispered, voice cracking. We go fix you. I swear. But the moment he said it, she convulsed again. Her entire body jerked like a puppet yanked by invisible strings. Foam gathered at the corners of her mouth. Dave stumbled back, heart pounding. That evening, he drove straight to Stunna's mansion in Ikeja. The gates opened slowly, as if hesitating. Inside, the house reeked of incense and stale perfume. The once vibrant space was dark, curtains drawn. The music was off. He found Stunna sitting shirtless on the floor, muttering to himself and rearranging crisp naira notes into strange, triangular shapes. Tunji, Dave said carefully. No response. He stepped closer. Stunna. Stunna looked up. His eyes were bloodshot. There were fresh tribal markings on his chest, deeper and more brutal than Dave's. His voice came out hollow. You came late. Too late. My mum's dying, Dave said. Every time I try to help her, something goes wrong. Doctors choke. Transfers fail. Even the car, she's not part of the agreement, Stunna interrupted, voice low. We're not allowed to care. Dave blinked. Not allowed. Love makes the blood weak. The rule is spend it for you, not for them. You try to save her, you break the flow. Dave sank into a nearby chair. Then what's the point? Stunna smiled, wide and cracked. The point is, you're the sacrifice. Dave stared at him in horror. Stunna leaned closer. You remember day 5? That's when the mask falls off. But before then, you either drown in guilt, or dance through it. Then he giggled like a child watching fireworks. Dave left the house with his ears ringing. Outside, his phone vibrated again. 400 million Nigerian nairas. 00 still untouched. He looked up at the sky. It was too quiet. Not even a bird. And in the silence, the voice returned, whispering again, as if floating from a place beyond the clouds, don't feed the dying. Feed the hunger. Dave sat cross-legged in the center of his luxurious living room, shirtless, drenched in sweat. Around him were neatly stacked bundles of 1,000 Nigerian nairas notes, 20 million Nigerian nairas worth. He lit a match. He wanted to see it burn. The flame danced for a second, then flickered out. The notes remained untouched. He struck another. This time, the flame caught his finger instead, burning him fast and sharp. He yelled and jerked back. The money just sat there, mockingly clean. No scorch marks. No smell of smoke. What do you want from me? He screamed. No one answered. But from the walls, the floor, the chandelier, came her voice. David, my son, he froze. It was Mama Dre. He turned slowly, his heart hammering. Her voice came again, soft and trembling. David. Why can't I breathe? He ran through the hallway. The house stretched unnaturally long. One door led into another room, which led into the kitchen, which somehow led back to the living room. Every mirror he passed showed something slightly off, his reflection moved a second too late. Or smiled when he didn't. That night, he threw another party, the biggest yet. Celebrities came. 2 DJs played. Alcohol flowed like water. Dancers in glittering bodysuits climbed poles by the pool. But something was wrong. The speakers glitched every few seconds. Guests froze mid-laughter. Someone spilled wine, and it pooled into the shape of a crying face. Dave stumbled inside, desperate for distraction. That's when he saw her again, Kyra. She stood by the mirror in his bedroom, staring at his reflection. Her face paled. Dave, it's not you in the mirror, she whispered. That thing is smiling. He turned. His reflection grinned, even though his real face was trembling. Then it stepped closer, out of the mirror. It looked like him, but more beautiful. Taller. Its teeth were gold. Its eyes flickered like candlelight. You're spending like a coward, the demon said. You taste guilt when you should taste glory. Dave stepped back. What are you? I'm what you wanted to become. The demon raised a hand. The walls bent. The ceiling cracked like thunder. Dave fell to his knees. I just wanted to save my mother, he cried. She was the price, the demon said. You are the sacrifice. Then it vanished. Dave ran. He grabbed his car keys and bolted into the street. Got into his Range Rover. Ignition. Reverse. Gas pedal to the floor. He drove fast, too fast, past the gate, onto the Lekki expressway, aiming for freedom. But the road stretched unnaturally. Signboards repeated. Even the same hawker boy appeared again and again. He passed a yellow bus 5 times. When he checked the map, his location read home. He slammed the brakes. Stepped out of the car. Around him, everything went still. Not even the wind moved. He turned back. The mansion was right behind him. He hadn't gone anywhere. Inside, he collapsed on the cold marble floor. Tears streamed down his face. He closed his eyes. Saw Mama Dre again, in her wrapper, on her mat, smiling gently. God will provide, she whispered. He opened his eyes. She was gone. But standing in her place was Prophet Elijah, the mad preacher. You tried to spend your way out of a covenant, the prophet said softly. But you never paid your soul forward. Then, like smoke, he disappeared. Dave screamed into the emptiness. Day 5 is tomorrow. The call came during the silence that followed his party. Dave was alone in the mansion's living room, the marble floor sticky with spilled liquor, empty bottles like ghosts of celebration. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He picked up instinctively. David Iromasil. The voice was deep. Sharp. Familiar. His throat tightened. Uncle Timmy. I hear your mother is dying. And you, the miracle son, you haven't come home, haven't picked calls, haven't sent a nurse. You think because you now walk among wolves in Lekki, the jackals at home don't smell blood? Dave swallowed. I've been trying. The situation is complicated. Come. Tonight. Click. By 8 p.m., Dave stood outside the compound in Bene. The house hadn't changed. Clay walls, faded green paint, the same carved Irako bench where Mama Dre used to braid her hair. But it felt different now. He knocked. Uncle Timmy opened the door in silence. The man was as sharp as Dave remembered, tall, lean, with veins like ropes on his arms. A retired soldier. Known in the town as Iron Gate. They sat in the sitting room. No TV. Just a flickering bulb and the weight of 100 years of ancestral judgment. You disappeared, David, Uncle Timmy said flatly. Then suddenly, news. Mansion. Benz. Parties. And your mother? Gasping for breath in a room with a cracked ceiling and a broken fan. Dave looked down. I tried to help. Every time I send help, it fails. Fails? Timmy leaned forward. You think wealth means nothing can block you? You think we don't know when money is unclean? Dave said nothing. I asked a pastor to pray for her, Timmy continued. He got fever that night. I called another. His wife collapsed. I tried to send her to a better hospital, the car caught fire on the road. David, he locked eyes with his nephew. What have you done? Dave opened his mouth, then closed it. Tears welled in his eyes. For a moment, it all sat there, the pain, the fear, the darkness swelling inside him. He wanted to tell him. Everything. About the ritual. The curse. The mirror demon. The voices. But the light above them flickered. The air turned cold. A photo frame of Mama Dre on the wall tilted. Then crashed to the floor without warning. Uncle Timmy stood. You've brought something into this bloodline, he whispered. It's not your money. It's your leash. Dave backed away slowly, heart thudding. I didn't want, you've already chosen, Timmy said, voice barely above a whisper. But let me warn you. The gods you call with dirty hands, they don't stop with one meal. He turned away. Dave ran. Out the door. Into the darkness. Back to the car. He drove without direction. Without music. Without tears. Just a man in a black Range Rover carrying a weight too big for the road. When he got back to Lekki, the gates opened automatically. No guards. No lights. His phone buzzed. Day 5. Final hours remaining. Unspent balance, 400 million Nigerian nairas. The old gate creaked behind him as Dave stepped out of Uncle Timmy's compound, his hands trembling like leaves in a storm. The night air smelled of rain and iron. He didn't even realize he was crying until the warm tears rolled into his mouth, bitter. His uncle's words clung to his skin like wet cloth. You've brought something into this bloodline. It's not your money. It's your leash. Dave knew he had to try one more thing, something he should have done before the ritual, before the mansion, before the Range Rover. He needed prayer. But not just any prayer. Not a stadium crusade. Not a trending Lagos fireman with a media team. He needed a quiet man who still spoke to heaven without filters. He called an old classmate who was now an assistant pastor in Ajegunle. Do you know someone discreet? Dave asked. He was given a name. Pastor Joseph Alayemi. A quiet man. Former evangelist. Ran a small prayer house in Shamalu. No choir. No camera. Just intercession. By midnight, Dave was sitting across from the pastor on a bare wooden bench inside a narrow church building that smelled of old oil and old firewood. A single lantern lit the room. The ceiling fan squeaked, spinning slowly. Pastor Alayemi had kind eyes and weathered palms. He looked at Dave the way a shepherd looks at a sheep already limping. My uncle said I brought something into the bloodline, Dave began. He's right. I did something. I thought I could control it. But now, I think it's controlling me. He explained everything. The ritual. The 400 million Nigerian nairas. The 5 days. Mama's sickness. The demon in the mirror. Stunna's madness. The failed transfers. The voices. Pastor Alayemi listened without blinking. Then he stood. You don't need deliverance, he said. You need mercy. He laid hands on Dave's head. Father, this one is lost but has returned. Cover him. Break every covenant signed in haste. Let fire. The room went cold. The lantern flickered. A gust of wind blew in from nowhere, knocking over a metal offering bowl. The candles blew out. Pastor Alayemi groaned. Dave opened his eyes. The man's fingers clenched around his head. His veins bulged. His mouth opened wide, but no words came out. Just air. Then he dropped. Foam spilled from his mouth. His body shook violently on the ground. Pastor. Dave rushed to him, lifted his head, slapped his face gently. Sir. Sir. No response. He grabbed the lantern, trying to find a phone. But the shadows in the corners of the room seemed to move. To breathe. Then he heard it again, the whisper. From behind the altar. Even heaven won't spend for you. Dave froze. The voice was colder now. Closer. He turned, no one there. He backed out slowly, dragging the pastor's body halfway to the entrance before abandoning him, terrified, breathless. Outside, he collapsed beside the church wall, clutching his chest. He looked up at the stars, not a single one shone. His phone buzzed. One notification. Day 5 begins now. Final withdrawal required. 400 million Nigerian nairas remaining. The moment Dave stepped out of the church, the wind hit his face like judgment. He didn't look back. He didn't call for help. There was no point. He'd watched a man of God, his last hope, slump mid-prayer, his body spasming on sacred ground. Something in Dave had shattered with him. Something final. He entered his Range Rover like a corpse slipping into a coffin and drove with a hollow stillness toward Lekki. The roads were empty, but it wasn't dawn yet. No, this silence wasn't natural. This was day 5. By noon, the mansion blazed with madness. Dave called it heaven on earth. A final statement. If he was going to die, he would die loud. 3 helicopters flew overhead, dropping 1,000 Nigerian naira's notes like confetti. A rented choir sang in white robes beside the Olympic-sized pool. Celebrities strutted in. Politicians shook hands. There were dancers on floating platforms, saxophonists on jet skis, even a pastor look-alike hired to fake a blessing. Dave wore white agbada threaded with gold, a lion head pendant swinging on his neck. The cameras loved him. Every step he took, cameras flashed. He laughed louder than he ever had. He sprayed bundles of naira with both hands. But the money, the cursed money, never finished. Every transfer reappeared. Every note he threw was replaced by another. Every second he tried to spend, the balance increased. He opened his app. 400 million Nigerian nairas. Untouched. Then, it began. The music glitched. Froze. The saxophonist dropped his instrument into the pool and stared blankly at the sky. One of the dancers collapsed, blood from her nose. Someone took a selfie, and a shadowy figure appeared behind them, grinning. Guests began to whisper. Someone screamed. Dave walked inside. The lights flickered. The mansion groaned, like a beast yawning. He made his way to the master bathroom. Stared at the mirror. And there it was again. His reflection, but no longer wearing white. This version of him wore a red suit soaked in oil. Chains of gold weighted his neck. His smile was wider than any human's. And behind him stood Mama Dre, not alive. Not dead. Just, trapped. Dave reached out. The mirror rippled like water. The demon stepped out. You spent to escape, it said. But every drop of naira was worship. Every party, a praise song. Dave's lips trembled. You said I had 5 days to spend. No, the demon cut in. You had 5 days to feed us. A book appeared in its hands, thick, burning at the corners. The ledger. It opened to a page titled, David Iromasil. Amount, 400 million Nigerian naira. Status, transaction incomplete. Soul, held in escrow. Dave screamed. I want out. Take it back. The demon tilted its head. Would you like to know, who paid on your behalf? Behind him, Mama Dre stepped forward. Her eyes hollow. Her scarf soaked in sweat and blood. She traded her prayers for your chance, the demon whispered. And you spent it. On yachts. Dave fell to his knees. No, 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 the mansion began to shake. Portraits fell. Cracks split the floor. Guests outside were screaming, but the sound faded into nothingness. Dave's body burned, but he didn't die. Not yet. He crawled toward the mirror, crying. Let me see her. One more time, the mirror exploded. Darkness. By morning, the mansion was quiet. The party was over. Inside, on a velvet couch, Dave Dre sat motionless, dressed in white, gold pendants still shining. His face frozen in a perfect smile. Eyes open. Lifeless. On his phone screen, 400 million Nigerian nairas untouched. Transfer pending. Next user, ready somewhere in Ajegunle. Another young man wakes up to a bank alert. And the circle begins again. Dear viewers, what lessons did you pick out from this epic story? Fire up the comment. Like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to turn the notification bells to stay tuned.